All right, welcome back everybody for another deep dive.
Glad to be here.
Today we're going exploring the subconscious mind. Um, Specifically with this audiobook we got, The Genie Within Your Subconscious Mind by Harry Carpenter.
Yeah.
Had you heard of this before?
I had not. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's a lot more than I was expecting. It's like one of these kind of guided meditation audiobooks,
Mm-hmm.
but it gets into some pretty interesting techniques.
Yeah.
So the whole idea behind it is that, like, so much of our behavior and like kind of our like outlook on life and even like our success in certain areas is governed by the subconscious mind.
Right.
But we
Right.
don't always have like direct control over it.
Yeah.
So he's got all these tracks on here that are supposed to help you access the subconscious mind and then reprogram it.
I see.
And one of the ways that he does that is through like brainwave entrainment.
Oh, okay.
So he's trying to get you into like an alpha or a theta state.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with any of that stuff?
Only vaguely. I know that like alpha waves are when you're relaxed, like maybe meditating.
Right. Yeah.
And then theta is, I think, even deeper.
Yeah. Theta is supposed to be like, I think like REM sleep,
Okay.
but it's also where you can be like very creative and open to new ideas.
Hmm.
So what I thought was interesting is like how um, he uses like certain techniques to get you into these states.
Right.
And some of them are like pretty simple.
Yeah.
Like one of the first tracks that we're going to talk about today is Journey to a Tropical Island. And this is an example of one where he uses progressive muscle relaxation.
Oh, okay.
So he like, you go through each part of your body,
Right.
like, starting with your toes, like tense up your toes and then relax them. And then, your calves and then your thighs and all the way up.
Yeah. Yeah.
I actually tried this last night. It's surprisingly effective, Amy. Like
Yeah.
you think like, oh, I'm just like tensing and relaxing my muscles.
Right.
But as you go through each part of your body, you start to feel
Yeah.
this like wave of calmness wash over you.
I see. I see.
And then while he's doing that, he's also having you like visualize being on a tropical island and like feeling the warm sand between your toes and,
Yeah.
the sun on your skin and like hearing the waves crashing.
Wow.
And all this stuff is supposed to like kind of quiet your conscious mind
Uh-huh.
so that your subconscious can kind of come to the surface a little bit more.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So another thing that he does on this track, which I thought was really interesting,
Okay.
is he like tells you that whenever you hear any kind of external distraction,
Yeah.
like a noise or something, instead of like getting annoyed by it,
Yeah.
to use it as a cue to relax even deeper.
Oh, wow.
So like, let's say, you're listening to this and a dog starts barking outside or something.
Uh-huh.
Instead of being like, "Ugh, that stupid dog,"
Yeah.
you're like, oh, okay, this is a reminder for me to relax.
Yeah.
And I thought that was like such a cool
Yeah.
way to like reframe your response to those kind of
Yeah.
like everyday annoyances,
It's almost like turning those distractions into a tool to
Exactly.
relax more.
Yeah, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So he also uses this other technique, which is really common in like hypnotherapy and NLP,
Okay.
where he has you touch your thumb and your forefinger together.
Yeah.
And he says, like, every time you do that, you're going to like remember this feeling of deep relaxation.
Okay.
And so it becomes like a real world trigger for calmness, which I thought was pretty neat.
That's interesting. So, like, even outside of listening to the track, you can
Yeah, like in
I
theory,
do that.
or like you're in a stressful meeting at work or something,
Right.
and you just like under the table, touch your fingers together.
Right.
It'll just like give you this like instant sense of calm.
That's pretty neat. Like a little
I haven't tested it yet.
shortcut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to try that one out. So that was Journey to a Tropical Island, which is all about getting into the alpha state.
Okay.
And then the next one we want to talk about is track 3, Inspirational Garden,
Okay.
which focuses on the theta state.
Right.
And this one, he uses this visualization of a deflating balloon
Okay.
to help you relax. So you're like imagining all this tension leaving your body
Right.
as the air slowly escapes the balloon. I have to say, that one was really effective for me. It felt so freeing.
Yeah.
Like this like weight was just being lifted.
Mm-hmm.
And then you find yourself in this inspirational garden, and it's filled with all these vibrant flowers. And each flower represents like
Great.
an idea or a story or like an act of kindness.
Mm-hmm.
And he encourages you to like pick the flowers. And as you pick them, more flowers grow.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's like this idea of like abundance and like unlimited
Yeah,
creativity.
yeah.
Like you can never run out of ideas. There's always more.
Right.
And I thought that was a really beautiful metaphor, especially for anyone who's like, a writer or an artist or anyone who's,
Trying to be creative.
struggling with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are just two of the tracks that we're going to be diving into today.
Okay.
But he's got like a bunch more on here that use all these different techniques.
Mm.
But before we like get into the specifics of each technique,
Okay.
maybe you can give us a little overview of like what else he covers.
Yeah.
Like what are some of the other tracks and what kind of ground does he cover?
Well, there's one called Tense Relax, and that's a variation on the progressive muscle relaxation. But instead of just tensing and relaxing, he has you tense as hard as you can and then fully let go.
Oh wow! So it's like
Yeah, so it's like really emphasizing the contrast.
it's a like supercharged version of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, interesting.
Then there's one called Clear, and he uses this visualization of a dirty window
Okay,
to represent your mind, being clouded with all these negative thoughts.
right.
And so as you're listening, he guides you to like wash the window clean, and that's supposed to like clear away those negative thoughts and give you a more expansive view.
Hmm.
He also includes some affirmations in that one for self-acceptance and forgiveness.
Okay.
Then there's Joy Center, and that introduces this idea that there's an actual physical joy center in your brain
Okay.
and that you can stimulate it through visualization.
I got to hear more about that one.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting one. He actually has you like visualize strumming a tiny harp in this area of your brain.
That sounds a little out there,
I
but
mean, it does sound a little out there, but it's
we'll see.
yeah, worth trying, right?
Yeah, sure.
And then let's see, there's acting, which he uses that metaphor of the conscious and subconscious minds as actors who need to work together harmoniously.
Right.
So it's about, aligning those two parts of yourself.
Sorry.
And then finally, there's alert conditioning. That one's all about inducing a state of alertness and focus using this image of a powerful dam generating energy.
Oh, wow.
It's almost like a mental energy drink.
So he's got like relaxation, creativity, and now even alertness.
It seems like he's covering all the bases.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay, so I'm starting to get a pretty good sense of the different techniques he uses.
Okay.
But I'm curious to like dive a little deeper into the science behind all this.
Yeah.
Like, is there any actual evidence to support these ideas?
That's a good question, and I think that's what we should talk about next.
All right, let's do it. So is there like any actual science behind this whole subconscious mind reprogramming thing?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it's tough because the subconscious mind, it's not like something you can easily observe or measure,
Mhm.
But there's definitely a lot of research out there that shows how much our subconscious beliefs and patterns like really influence us, like
Right.
our thoughts, emotions, behaviors.
Yeah.
Like they've done studies with brain imaging,
Yep.
and they show that even when people are exposed to like subliminal messages,
Right.
there's activity in the brain, like in the areas related to emotions and memory,
Wow.
even though they're not consciously aware of those messages.
That's kind of creepy.
Yeah, it's a little bit creepy, but it's also like pretty amazing, Like it means we can actually like change those subconscious patterns.
So how do we actually do that? We've talked about some of the techniques that Carpenter uses, like the muscle relaxation, the anchoring.
Yeah.
But like, what's the actual thing that makes these techniques work?
Well, one of the key principles is neuroplasticity.
Okay.
So our brains, they can actually change and reorganize themselves.
Right.
And it's not just like when we're kids. It happens all throughout our lives.
Yeah.
So like when we imagine things, when we repeat affirmations, we're actually strengthening those pathways in our brains.
So it's like almost like building a muscle, right?
Yeah, exactly. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what about those beliefs that are like really deep down?
Yeah.
The ones that like no matter how much you try to think positive, they just keep popping up.
Right. Those are the tricky ones because they're often rooted in like early childhood experiences or patterns that we've repeated for years. But the good news is even those beliefs can be shifted.
Right.
It just takes like consistent effort. You got to keep interrupting those old patterns and introducing new information like through visualization, affirmations, things like that.
So there's no like quick fix.
Not really. It's a process.
Yeah.
You got to be patient, persistent.
But if we can actually reprogram our subconscious mind, that could have like a huge impact on our lives,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. I mean, it can affect everything, your relationships, your career, your
Yeah.
health.
Yeah.
It's all connected.
So like if someone wants to start working with these techniques, where do they even begin?
Well, listening to Carpenter's tracks is a great starting point, especially for like getting familiar with the techniques and just experiencing those altered states of consciousness.
Yeah.
But to really make it stick, you got to integrate these practices into your daily life.
So it's not like a magic pill you take and everything's fixed.
No, it's more like a lifestyle change.
Yeah.
Like think of it like exercise. You wouldn't expect to get in shape by working out once a month.
Yeah.
You got to make it a regular habit.
Okay, so how do people actually do that? Like, what are some practical ways to make this a part of your daily routine?
Well, one simple thing is to start using affirmations.
Okay.
Like, choose a few positive statements that really resonate with you.
Like, I am confident or something like that.
Exactly. And repeat them to yourself throughout the day. It could be silently, it could be out loud. The key is to make it a regular practice.
What else?
Visualization is another powerful tool. Like, take a few minutes each morning to visualize yourself achieving your goals, living the life you want. Make the images really vivid and engage all your senses.
Like athletes use that a lot, right?
Yeah, they do. And it actually works. Studies have shown that athletes who visualize themselves performing well, they actually do perform better.
Wow.
It's like they're training their minds to believe it's possible.
That's so cool.
So we've got affirmations, visualization, and then there's anchoring.
Right, the finger thing.
Yeah, that's one example. But you can create anchors for any positive emotion you want to access more easily, like confidence, joy, motivation.
So it's like a shortcut to feeling good.
Yeah, pretty much. You just choose a simple physical gesture and pair it with the feeling you want to anchor. And then whenever you need a boost, just do the gesture.
Wow. Let's try that.
It's really effective.
So it sounds like we really do have a lot more control over our minds and our experiences than we think.
I think so, yeah. It's all about taking responsibility for our subconscious programming and actually working to change it.
Yeah, not just like hoping for the best.
Exactly. It's about being proactive and creating the reality we want.
Okay, I'm starting to feel really empowered by all this.
That's great.
But I'm also curious to hear more about this whole idea of the conscious and subconscious minds, like working together.
Yeah, that's a really important piece.
Right, let's dive into that. All right, so we've talked about a lot of these techniques, but Carpenter has some like really unique ones in this audiobook.
Yeah, he does get into some pretty out there stuff.
Like this one, track 7, acting.
Oh, yeah.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around this whole like conscious and subconscious being actors.
It's a cool way to think about it, though.
So like, help me understand this.
So imagine like your conscious mind is the lead actor, right? They're the one in the spotlight. They're making decisions, taking action.
Okay.
And then your subconscious mind, that's like the supporting cast, the crew, they're behind the scenes making sure everything runs smoothly.
Okay, so like if the actors are like in sync,
Yeah,
then the performance is good, but if they're not, then the whole thing falls apart.
exactly. And that's why communication is so important.
Between the actors.
Between your conscious and subconscious minds.
Wait, so you're saying we can like talk to our subconscious?
Well, not like a literal conversation,
All right.
but you can create a space for communication, like through visualization or journaling.
Huh, interesting.
Like imagine you're sitting down with your subconscious mind and asking it questions,
Okay.
really listening to the responses, and then working together to solve problems.
I never thought about it that way before.
It's like we have all this wisdom inside of us, but we don't always know how to access it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So what about some of the other like less conventional techniques?
Well, there's that one we talked about earlier, Joy Center.
Oh yeah, the tiny harp in your brain one.
That's the one. It sounds a little crazy.
Yeah.
But I think the idea is that even if there's not like a literal joy center,
Right.
just by focusing on joy, we can actually start to feel more joyful.
Okay, so it's like a mind over matter thing.
Kind of, yeah. We have more power over our emotions than we think.
It's like the placebo effect, but for happiness.
Exactly. So what did you think of the audiobook overall?
I really liked it. I mean, some of it was definitely out there.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of value in what Carpenter is saying.
I agree.
Like this whole idea that we can actually reprogram our subconscious mind, that's pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah, it's empowering, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's something that anyone can benefit from.
Absolutely.
So if you're listening and you're interested in learning more about this,
Yeah.
I definitely recommend checking out The Genie Within Your Subconscious Mind by Harry Carpenter.
It's a good one.
And, try out some of these techniques for yourself.
Yeah, see what works for you.
Exactly. And until next time, keep diving deep.